From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Senate in rowdy session as it concludes screening of ministerial nominees, confirms 45, says Nasser El-Rufai, Stella Okotete and Abubakar Danladi are still undergoing security clearance. I'm sorry. Former Minister of State for Labour, Mr. Festus Kiamo, apologizes to the Senate. The National Centre for Counter-Terrorism advocates an all-inclusive, nationally coordinated approach to counter-terrorism efforts in the country. An air component of Operation Delta Save carries out airstrike on boats tapping crude oil as well as reservoirs storing refined oil products in the creeks of River State.
On business news tonight, Debt Management Office offers federal government's August saving bonds for subscription with interest rates up to 10.63% per annum.
On sports news tonight, coach Randy Waldrum describes Super Falcons as an inspiration to women's football in Africa following their FIFA Women's World Cup exit in the round of 16.
And from the nation's capital, traders cry out as the Federal Capital Territory authorities demolish the timber shed in the Lugbe area of the nation's capital.
And in international news from London, Niger's coup leaders have closed the country's airspace until further notice, citing the threat of military intervention from their neighbours.
We begin from the National Assembly, where a mild drama unfolded during the screening of the last ministerial nominee, Mr. Festus Kiamo. The Senate, however, confirmed 45 out of the 48 nominees sent to the upper chamber by the president. The three nominees who are yet to be confirmed are former Kaduna State Governor Nasser El-Rufai, Mrs. Stella Okotete from Delta State, and Abubakar Danladi from Taraba State. According to the President of Senate, Godswill Akpabio, the nominees were not confirmed because they're still undergoing security checks.
Out of the mouth of 2 or 3.
For 6 non-consecutive days, we have watched ministerial nominees mount this lectern and present themselves to be screened by the Senate. We saw nominees take a bow and exit the stage. Some called to task over discrepancies in academic qualifications and controversial comments and tweets. A nominee overcome with emotions mid-presentation and the nomination withdrawn. But we never saw the Senate go into a rowdy session during the screening exercise until Monday, when the former Minister of State for Labour, Mr. Festus Kiamo, was before the upper chamber. Mr. Kiamo is the last of 48 nominees to be screened and confidently informs the Senate how he had spent the last 30 years using the instrumentality of the law to advance the cause of democracy and strengthen the powers of the Senate.
I felt that if I looked at all the provisions of the law, and I felt the military had to bow to this Senate, had to subject itself to the authority of the Senate. And so on my own, I wrote then to the Senate President, Senator David Mark, I wrote to the then Attorney General Andwaka, I wrote to all of them that, look, this procedure is not right. The military must come here for confirmation before they assume, their duties.
My order is anchored on Section 88 of the Constitution.
Trouble begins for Mr. Kiamo when the Deputy Minority Leader, Senator Darlington Nwankwocha, draws the attention of the Senate to events in 2020 when Mr. Kiamo held sway as the Minister of State for Labour as regards the 52 billion naira public works program. Senator Nwankwocha recalls how Mr. Kiamo at the time denied lawmakers the opportunity to oversight the program.
What we are talking about is a 52 billion naira appropriation, and the right of appropriation resides on the legislature. That is our right. And I know quite well that the right of oversight resides on us, because we have to hold you accountable for whatever thing we appropriate to you. It is our right. And when he was invited, he expressly told us, to the public, that we want to hijack his role, that we want to blackmail us, that we are corrupt, that we want to hijack his role.
Senator Ainaya Abaribe quickly seconds the motion that Mr. Kiamo's ministerial screening be suspended.
Both the House of Representatives and the Senate, that I do support that this nominee should be stepped down pending when he decides that the National Assembly has that right to inquire into the workings of a minister and his ministry. I so second.
At this point, Mr. Kiamo's screening effectively divides the Senate, with some senators calling for a division.
Distinguished senator, take your seats, please.
The Senate Majority Leader calls for an executive session in an attempt to bring order to proceedings.
Mr. President, I'm very, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. May I, at this time, move that we dissolve into an executive session to be able to iron out some issues.
Nearly 2 hours later, the session ends. A sober-looking Kiamo is once again on the stage.
The apology is without reservation at all. I apologize. The only two things I just need to say before I go, because we are before the world, one or two things. One is that regarding that program, because when Nigerians hear a figure, their ears go up. Hey, what big figure has been mentioned? No. Regarding that program, every single payment, and I insisted to the past president that it must come from the central bank directly to the accounts of the people who were nominated to receive those funds.
A federal lawmaker makes a case for Mr. Kiamo.
Now that he's apologized before the National Assembly, including myself, because I also have a question that I should ask. But now that I apologize, I want to appeal to the General House and the Senate under the leadership of Mr. Chairman, who the Senate President, that I am moving a motion for him to take the leave of the Senate and to go and not to sin again. Take a leave and go, and don't repeat such again now that you have apologized before this honour house. Those who are in support of this motion say aye. Aye. Those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. The apologies are hereby accepted.
The Senate accepts his apology and he is asked to exit the podium.
Will the Senate approve the nomination of...
The Senate proceeds to confirm the ministerial nominees.
Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The upper chamber confirms a total of 45 nominees. 3 of the nominees, namely former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, Mrs. Stella Okotete from Delta, and Abubakar Danladi from Taraba State, are not confirmed because they are still undergoing security checks.
Away from the National Assembly, reports say another extraordinary summit of ECOWAS heads of state and government on the political situation in the Republic of Niger is scheduled to hold on Thursday in Abuja. At the meeting, the ECOWAS leaders are expected to officially respond to the military leaders' decision to ignore the deadline to reinstate the democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum. Meanwhile, the president last night met with 5 northern governors who share border with Niger Republic at the State House in Abuja as part of consultations by the president on the situation. Although details of the meeting were not made public, the meeting comes as ECOWAS and other member states have imposed a border closure on Niger. The governors at the meeting were Ahmed Ali of Sokoto, Umar Namadi of Jigawa, May Malabuni of Yobe, Idris Nasir of Kebbi, and his Katsina State counterpart, Dr. Diko Rada. Meanwhile, reactions are trailing the closure of Niger's Republic's airspace announced by the country's military junta, as well as the resolution by ECOWAS to cut flight links with Niger. Amidst the divergent views, renowned businessman Mr. Tedo Pito believes the decision will drive up the cost of air travel for Nigerians going to Europe. He shared his opinion on the implications of the airspace closure in an interview with Channels Television.
We're following the news and the discussions. It was Nigeria that first mentioned, declaring a no-fly zone or something like that. And actually, as soon as that was mentioned, some of us got very worried because if you look at geography, Nigeria and Nigerians need to fly more through Niger than people in Niger need to fly to Nigeria. I mean, let me just ask you, how many people do you think from Niger are flying south to come to Nigeria? Where are the flights from Miami I mean, how many people? Any trade along that border across all those northern states is largely on the ground. So in terms of air traffic, the traffic is from Nigeria that when we want to go north, we have to fly across Niger. So when you are looking for sanctions, ideally you should be looking for those sanctions that penalize the other person. You don't penalize yourself in the name of sanctions. So the worry for some of us was that, hang on a second, if we talk about not being able to fly across Niger, then we have a problem. And let me tell you why we have a problem. Because even if you were flying to the Middle East and so on, you may not know this, but there are some other countries that currently nobody overflies, including Nigeria. These other two countries are Libya and Sudan. So if you add Niger to them, really, we have cut off our easy access in that direction. And then when you come nearer home and towards the west, I just pray that Mali, who are sympathetic to Niger, do not join Niger in closing their airspace for us. Because if you look at the map carefully, if Mali joins Niger, then we're in deep trouble. The only way to go north is to first fly west, almost all the way to Senegal. So the point I'm making is that there are already enough things driving up the cost of being in Nigeria and doing business in Nigeria. And I don't think if you can find any way to diffuse the situation and not to force our air traffic to be going around in circles, because that puts further pressure on our own economy. Aviation fuel is deregulated, it's expensive. If we have to fly a longer route, we have to spend to consume more aviation fuel. And that is pressure on our own foreign exchange to buy more aviation fuel. So I'm just saying that in the choice of sanctions against any country, I think the rules are that you look at those things that will not inconvenience your own people.
Away from the situation in Niger, these are not the best times for oil thieves and their collaborators in the Niger Delta region, as the air component of Operation Delta Safe continues to strike at the heart of their operations. The latest of such occurred on August the 5th, 4 nautical miles off the east of Bilé, a riverine area located in the west of Bonny Island, south of Port Harcourt River State. In a statement by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Nigerian Air Force, Air Commodore Edward Gabwet, the airstrikes followed the sighting of 3 boats tapping crude oil from a pipeline. Another such operation was observed southeast of Idama in River State, where active illegal refining site with tanks and reservoirs loaded with suspected illegal refining products were noticed. According to the Director of Information, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, has since directed all air component commanders nationwide to ensure synergy with other security agencies to sustain the strikes against the economic vandals until they desist from their act of sabotage. In part 2, after the break, Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 2 announces arrest of 10 policemen for allegedly mounting illegal checkpoints on the Seme border highway. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.
Now available in new flavors.
Trust does not come cheap. It's a word you can bank on. The efficiency you can trade with. Trust should be what you demand and what every partner should give. Trust is the insight you base your business decision on. Trust should give your dreams wings, taking you above and beyond your borders. You have to trust your gut. And trust that your dreams are valid. In our world of corporate and investment banking, trust is a big word. A word that guides and leads our commitment to your growth and that of your business. Go for growth with your trusted partner.
Discover Lipton's flavorful and balanced taste. We pick fine quality tea leaves from selected tea gardens around the world to give you Lipton Yellow Label's flavorful and balanced taste in every sip.
Prepare and recover with Astamin, a blend of amino acids and multivitamins.
Have you heard? Momo is turning 12 people who refer the highest number of friends into millionaires in the Momo Refer and Win promo. There is also over 200 million naira up for grabs. How do you win? Dial *671# to open a Momo account if you don't have one. Then select option 6 to refer everyone you know. Yes, I said everyone, because everyone deserves to be a millionaire. Make sure the person you refer opens a Momo account and buys airtime or data of at least 100 naira. The more people you refer, the more cash prizes you win every week. And you increase your chance of becoming a millionaire in the Momo Refer and Win promo. Promo runs from 15th June to 9th August 2023. Momo, better than cash.
Because no matter where you go, no matter how we be, I go always there for you. Anything where you come, or whatever you do, go. I cannot be the man for you. All I ask in return is that you treat me a little better. It's I go. Toilet cleaner. My hygiene now your own. I go. Toilet cleaner. It's a win-win for me and you. So make me win, no.
That's right. You too could be one of the 20 Zenith Bank customers that will win 150,000 naira every 2 weeks from June 1st, 2023 until May 31st, 2024 in the Zenith Better Life Promo 3. To qualify, simply open a Zenith Bank account. For more information, visit www.zenithbank.com/betterlife. Live the better life with Zenith Bank.
The Duchess International Hospital opened its doors in October 2021. The mission of the hospital is to reverse medical tourism. We take particular care here at the Duchess to bring together a combination of the brightest and the best locally, as well as Nigerians in the diaspora who are interested in returning to do very good work for the benefit of our patients here in this country.
The good thing is that we have all international expertise here, all international facilities here, international people working here. Everything is coming together in a space which was considered not great in terms of the availability of healthcare.
Access Bank, of course, has been able to provide us with a robust range of products and services that has enabled us to deliver that standard and quality of healthcare that is integral to our mission as an organization.
Discover Lipton's flavorful and balanced taste. We pick fine quality tea leaves from selected tea gardens around the world to give you Lipton Yellow Label's flavorful and balanced taste in every sip.
On my dark marks, I've tried everything. Nivea Lumina 630 works from day one with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million women already using Lumina 630 from Nivea.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Senate in rowdy session as it concludes screening of ministerial nominees, confirms 45 out of 48, says Nasser El-Rufai, Stella Kotete and Abubakar Danladi are still undergoing security clearance. I'm sorry. Former Minister of State for Labour, Mr. Festus Kiamo, apologises to the Senate. National Centre for Counter-Terrorism advocates an all-inclusive, nationally coordinated approach to counter-terrorism efforts in the country. A component of Operation Delta Safe carries out airstrikes on boats tapping crude oil, as well as reservoirs storing refined oil products in the creeks of River State. A first-class traditional ruler in Nasarawa State, the Emir of Goku, Jibrin Mohammed, has been abducted. The police public relations officer, DSP Rahman Nansel, said that the Emir was taken away alongside his wife from his palace, which is located a few kilometers from Maraba main town of Karu local government area, last night by kidnappers. He added that a combined police team in collaboration with vigilante groups combed the surrounding bushes of the area after receiving a distress call, but there was no trace of the abductees. However, he added that efforts to rescue the Emir and his wife continues as additional police personnel from Police Tactical Team, Anti-Kidnapping Unit and others from the Cairo Area Command have been deployed to the area. Well, staying with security, the lack of a well-coordinated approach to the counter-insurgency operations is set to hamper efforts aimed at complete elimination of terrorist activities in the country. Well, against the backdrop, the National Centre for Counter-Terrorism is advocating an all-inclusive, nationally coordinated approach to counter-terrorism efforts in order to yield the desired result. The national coordinator of the centre, Rear Admiral Yaminu Musa, who was addressing a conference on counter-terrorism in Abuja, maintains that having a centrally managed system that coordinates all the counter-terrorism efforts is the way to go.
Officials of the National Counter-Terrorism Centre and Secretaries of State Government are gathered in this hall for a 3-day workshop on policy planning for effective national counter-terrorism in the country. The delegates here will review existing national and state counter-terrorism efforts with focus on policy, legal and operational requirements for establishing an effective and counter-terrorism framework.
Significant successes have been achieved with the security effort in the Northeast. I'm not bold to say this. However, the shifting strategy of violent groups and the need to stabilize displaced community and population create some huge challenges that need to be addressed. The cooperation of community is unavoidable in the quest for government to consolidate on the gains of ongoing counter-terrorism operations. However, this effort could become counterproductive to national security in the absence of established policy and legislation, national ownership, and a coordination mechanism.
Recently, some state governments have granted amnesty to repentant violent extremists and bandits, rehabilitating and reintegrating them into society as part of their counter-terrorism strategy. Similarly, the Nigerian Army's Operation Safe Corridor is an amnesty program which encourages armed non-state actors to surrender and get reintegrated. Some participants at this workshop believe a strong political will and collaboration will ensure the success of the counter-terrorism efforts.
It is also important to note that our approach to violent extremism must be rooted in our collaborative efforts and in the principle of whole-of-society approach to addressing issues, including countering the ideology of violent extremist groups, building trust and community resilience at the grassroots levels.
Targeted efforts to encourage and facilitate defection can have a great effect as it damages the narrative of legitimacy of non-state actor groups. We've seen that in what we are carrying out in National Counter-Terrorism Center. What we had in Borno State earlier was not what we have now. Because of political will, we can see that we now have over 120 returnees.
For the next 2 days, delegates here are expected to brainstorm on the best approach to making the country's counter-terrorism efforts more coordinated and effective.
Meanwhile, the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Lagos and Ogun State, Mohammed Ari, has been speaking on topical issues of security concerns within the zone. Mr. Ari explains that investigation has been launched at the state level over the death of Adeni Sani, a senior aide to the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriations, Senator Solomon Adeola. The zonal police boss also adds that about 10 policemen have been arrested over complaints of mounting illegal roadblocks along Badagry-Seme border corridor.
We have arrested not less than 10 of policemen on that road so far. Yes, I can tell you that for free, authoritatively. Investigation is ongoing. Not all of them there are there legally or genuinely. Some on their own. After closing from work, they go there, mount roadblock on their own. Such people that are there, we consider them as illegal duty policemen. We need to sanitize the road so that we reduce some of the complaints, some of the hardship innocent Nigerians are facing as they navigate through that road. That of the senator you talked about, Lagos Command, is on it. In the case of our own inspector, we are on it, and we are closing on them, I can assure you. And very soon as we are done, I will avail you with all the information. We are not unmindful of that. Definitely, we will get them in no distant time from me.
Time to switch now to Abuja for more. Nota Egbe is waiting. Hi, Nota. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you, Millicent, and welcome to the nation's capital. Now, it's not a good time for traders at the timber market in the Lugbe area of the nation's capital, as the Federal Capital Territory FCT authorities have demolished their sheds. The traders told Channels Television that they were taken unawares as they were given a few hours to take out their wares before the exercise commenced, contrary to an earlier notice giving them a week to vacate. But officials of the FCDA maintained that the exercise was long overdue as the traders were given several notices and a compensation package.
Gloomy faces, weary looks best describe the situation at the Lugbe timber shed in Abuja, which is located on the Abuja Expressway. At exactly 10 a.m., bulldozers' engine starts, taking down the structures while the traders stay far off watching. The place is being demolished because of its proximity to electricity installations. The traders insist that they were not informed before now.
The notice was too sudden because before cancellation, there's always provision. You make provision for good roads. So this one they are doing now, everybody got their money from hard-earned sweat. Now, they've demolished this thing now. There is no basis for where they are relocating to.
I feel very bad because I lose 3 shops here now, as you can see. So it's not been easy. Although they give us time, but the time is not enough for us. It's just only 1 week.
A joint security task force was on ground to ensure there is law and order. The authorities insist that they had given the traders adequate time to evacuate their shops.
We did everything possible to prevent it from going down this route. And in 2018, we paid compensation to all the traders on this ground. We have evidence to that effect. So you can imagine 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And in June, we had a parley with them, a press conference with them. We called them to Development Control Office. We called their leaders. We had a chat with them. Channels was present. Okay, and we told them that the project is being delayed because we can't access this route. The project closes in December 31st. Okay, and we have a lot of job to do. The time we have, in fact, is not even enough. Okay, and now we are here in August. They still haven't left. We can't be waiting indefinitely.
As the exercise continues, the authorities say more power installations will be set up in the area.
And still ahead on the news at 10, the Debt Management Office offers federal government August savings bonds for subscriptions with interest rates up to 10.63% per annum. That's on Business News. Join us again.
Susie likes to live life on her own terms. And with her Visa prepaid card from First Bank, she has no worries shopping abroad or paying locally, as her card comes in USD or Naira variant. And she enjoys the liberty of funding her card as she desires. Susie got her Visa prepaid card from the First Bank branch nearest to her. It's valid for 3 years and can be personalized to suit her lifestyle. First Bank Visa prepaid card can be used on any payment channel, ATM, POS, and web. And if you're a corporate business organization, the card can be used as your budget card to sort out business expenses. In addition, the card can be co-branded to showcase your business. So, get a First Bank Visa prepaid card from any First Bank branch and enjoy a budget card that suits you. You first. First Bank.
Discover Lipton's flavorful and balanced taste. We pick fine quality tea leaves from selected tea gardens around the world to give you Lipton Yellow Label's flavorful and balanced taste in every sip.
When you have cavities, it hurts so bad it makes you miss school. Even football.
But we prevent cavities before they form with Colgate.
Colgate locks calcium in.
Keeps cavities out.
Hello, this is Premium Pension. How can we help?
Our experts work behind the scenes, enabling our members grow wealth to secure a premium tomorrow. We see your hard work and we make your money work hard for you. We are growing with you in commitment and service. Leveraging technology to meet your demands. Secure your future and pave way for the next generation. Embracing diversity with firm roots across the 36 states of Nigeria and the FCT. Premium Pension. Active today, premium tomorrow.
When you sweat, you lose ions too. Reach for Pocari Sweat, similar to your body fluid. It is easily absorbed and rehydrates you faster. Replenish your ions with Pocari Sweat Iron Supply Drink.
more nutritious meals, more veggies. But we want it tasty and easy too. Knorr Cubes. That's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic. And enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
Welcome back. On to politics in Edo State, where Governor Godwin Obaseki has opened up on his rift with his deputy, Mr. Philip Shuaibu, whom he says has perfected plans to leave the ruling People's Democratic Party, the PDP, to pursue his ambition of becoming the next governor of Edo State. Governor Obaseki explained that he has no impeachment plans in mind, even as Mr. Shuaibu had gone to court to refrain him from doing so. The governor was speaking when he received a PDP delegation from Edo North, maintaining that the court case is part of Mr. Shuaibu's plans to defect to another party and remain in office as the deputy governor of Edo State.
Let me put it very clearly on record that I am not aware of any plots or any scheme to impeach the Deputy Governor, Right Honorable Philip Shuaibu. I have also checked, and there is no such plan, or there was no such plan. I must state here that Comrade Philip Shuaibu has never had a courtesy to discuss his ambition with me. What I hear is that he is consulting. Because the last time we spoke about my succession after the last House of Assembly elections, I did say that we should all be patient and that our task today is to try and finish well, to conclude all the projects we have started, and to unify and consolidate our party. Because it's only when we do these two things right would we have the support from our people to produce my successor. I made it very clear. And like you have pointed out, there's no timetable yet for the Edo elections. It will come later the year. So I believe that this action by him is just a preemptive move to get a court order, keep his position while he now moves to the other party to get a ticket.
The leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress says a contempt summons issued by the federal government against the Labour Union has been withdrawn. The NLC President, Mr. Joe Ajaero, who was a guest on our program Politics Today, explains that the Senate has called for a meeting with the union on Tuesday to iron out their issues.
The Senate promised to get back to us and resolve the matter within 1 week. Just this evening, we got a notice from them inviting us for a meeting tomorrow. On other issues, we are yet to get the modality on the restructured negotiating team, especially the government team, who has seats and those that will lead the government team. That one is still pending. However, rising from our next meeting, we decided to take further action on the vexatious position of the Industrial Court and the Ministry of Justice through the Solicitor General that they are sending us letters about contempt, and then the neck of the NLC rose up, giving up to 14th of August for them to withdraw such a summon for contempt or face industrial action, real industrial action, but equally this afternoon, the Minister of Justice through the Solicitor General of the Federation sent a letter to us withdrawing that charge.
And that's it from the nation's capital. Back to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Nota. We continue with company news now. Some shareholders of First Bank Nigeria PLC today staged a peaceful protest in Lagos over an alleged intention by some other shareholders of the bank, whom they say are against the annual general meeting of the institution holding on August the 15th, 2023. According to a representative of the protesting shareholders, that action is inimical to the growth of the bank. Our correspondent, Olimide Macaulay, reports.
Tinubu Square, Lagos Island. The buses await the arrival of the shareholders billed to protest to register their grievances at the headquarters of the First Bank of Nigeria PLC, Marina. One by one, they filter in.
There may be a disagreement, a major one, brewing between shareholders of First Bank Nigeria PLC, majority shareholders and minority shareholders, and in between is First Bank of Nigeria PLC, who are due to hold a meeting, an annual general meeting, on the 15th of August. Now, the bone of contention is that some parties amongst shareholders do not want this meeting to hold. Behind me is a bus containing some shareholders who insist that that meeting must go ahead as planned.
Outside the premises of First Bank of Nigeria PLC, they take a stand, holding placards.
Majority of the shareholders, they want the annual general meeting to be allowed to proceed and consider all resolutions. That is so, it doesn't make sense at all to say that the bank is holding an annual general meeting and they have been prevented from considering some, certain resolutions. I don't understand. The regulators, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the Securities and Exchange Commission, what they call now, what do they call it now? They should wade into this problem. They know that annual general meetings and resolutions are statutory.
Efforts to get the management of First Bank PLC Nigeria to respond to these issues proved abortive, as they could not be reached for comment.
If this protest by shareholders of First Bank Nigeria PLC, who say they are the minority shareholders, but who hold a common view that the AGM meeting for the 15th of August should hold as planned, then we have just about 8 days to find out whether that will indeed happen. Reporting from Lagos, Olumide Macaulay, Channels Television News.
For more company news now, the Abdul Samad Rabiu Initiative for Africa, ASR for Africa, and the Boer Group have donated 25 operational vehicles to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Speaking during the official handover ceremony in Abuja, the managing director of the initiative, Mr. Ubon Udo, expresses delight over the completion of the project while stating that this will better improve the agency's fight to curb illicit use and trafficking of drugs in the country.
The Abdul Samad Rabiu Africa Initiative, ASR Africa, has donated 25 operational vehicles to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency to boost its operations across Nigeria. According to the managing director of the initiative, Ubon Udo, the donation to the agency is drawn from the ASR Africa Security Sector Support Grant, which is a security intervention initiative targeted at providing critical support to the agency to boost its operational reach and capacity.
I'm very pleased to say that this is the first security agency or branch of the armed forces that is actually receiving the grant's implementation. We know and understand, and the chairman, Alhaji Abdul Samad Rabiu, understands that we cannot achieve development without an environment that is safe and secure. This is the reason why we focus a lot of our energy on ensuring that we provide the necessary support to the security agencies to make development possible.
The chairman of the agency, retired Brigadier General Buba Marwa, expresses delight over the donations and says the 500 million naira worth of vehicles will support the efforts of the agency in curbing the use and trafficking of illicit drugs in the country.
This is the first ever during my tenure of this type of gesture that we have received, and on behalf of the officers, men and women of the agency, we want to say how very thankful we are and to say that this will be a major boost to our operations.
Are we going to show?
Yeah, we'll just...
The donation is then formalized.
Congratulations.
Outside the hall, the vehicles are officially unveiled and launched. Beyond this donation, the managing director of the initiative speaks on more projects of the organization.
We also have 54 projects across Nigeria. 30 of them are tertiary education grants. So we're supporting universities with grants for infrastructure. They're building laboratories, even innovation centers, admin blocks, some hostels. And then we also have tertiary health system support projects. We're building an oncology center, mother and child hospital, school of nursing in different parts of the country. So we presently have 54 projects across Nigeria. And we have about 16 projects across 3 African countries.
The keys for the vehicles are then handed to state and regional commanders across the country to help boost the agency's operations in these states.
Business News Now is next. Here's Melinda Kilami.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, has raised concern over the deadline issued by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to restore democratic order in Niger, while supporting measures like the suspension of electricity supply to pressurize the military junta. The chamber firmly opposes the idea of Nigerian troops joining the regional bloc for an intervention. The chamber emphasizes the need for strategic dialogue, diplomatic efforts, and political engagement to address the crisis in Niger, underscoring the potential pitfalls of resorting to military force. The Debt Management Office, DMO, has announced an offering for 2 federal government saving bonds for subscription at 1,000 naira per unit. The saving bonds of 2 and 3 years tenors are offered at interest rates of 9.63% and 10.63% annually. In a statement today, the DMO says the offers, which opens on August the 7th, will close by August the 11th this year. Now let's check out what's happening at the domestic equities market. It opened the second trading week on a good note, really looking positive amid Nigeria's credit rating upgrade. Willie Bong tells us more.
Welcome to the Stock Market Report. The week is starting off on a positive note. Let's remember it's closed in the red on Friday. But overall, last week ended in the green despite the losses recorded. Last Friday also, the global ratings agency S&P upgraded Nigeria's credit outlook to stable, citing the fiscal reforms by the current administration. I guess this is rubbing off positively for the market and boosting investor confidence. Now we're seeing that benchmark index rising today, 0.21%, settling 138 basis points higher from Friday's close. Now let's take a look at some of the drivers. Now we see the banking counter up today 0.81%, and this is because of gains in 4 out of the figures. Zenith Bank, UBA, GTCO, and Access Holdings, recorded gains today. But there was profit taken in FBN Holdings, but that was not strong enough to offset the gain in that counter. Now for the oil and gas, we're seeing O&O walking the green path today. Share price rose 3.28% despite the uncertainty for shareholders around the listing. Now, look at the dip in the consumer goods index. We're seeing that 0.05% down. And this is also despite gains in Cadbury. Now, investors bought the dip on good old Cadbury after its disappointing Q2 earnings report due to forex losses. However, it's looking like today's gain may be short-lived as 26 stocks lost against 25 gainers. Tomorrow definitely will tell. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Will Ibang.
Tomorrow will definitely tell, Will, but let's hope for some positive numbers. We also have closing numbers of other major global equities. That's Business News. It's back to you, Millicent.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Melinda. And Niger's military junta has announced the closure of its airspace to neighboring countries, citing the fear of a military intervention by neighbors. The announcement was made by the military leadership, which took over power late July. We're reading a statement on national television. A representative of the junta said it had information that a foreign power was preparing to attack Niger in coordination with countries of ECOWAS. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international stories and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Niger's coup leaders have closed the country's airspace until further notice, citing the threat of military intervention from their neighbours. Flight tracking website Flight Radar 24 shows that there are currently no aircraft in Niger's skies. The West African group of countries, ECOWAS, had earlier warned it could use force if President Mohamed Bazoum was not reinstated by 11 p.m. on Sunday. A junta spokesman says Niger's armed forces are ready to defend the country. Mr. Bazoum was detained on the 26th of July, and General Chiani, commander of the Presidential Guard, later proclaimed himself the new leader. At least 30 people have been killed and 100 injured when a train derailed in southern Pakistan. That's according to a police spokesman. Several carriages of the Hazara Express overturned near Sahara railway station in Nawabshah, about 275 kilometres from the largest city, Karachi. Wounded passengers were moved to nearby hospitals. Rescue teams are trying to free people from the twisted wreckage. Videos posted on social media showed dozens of people at the site of the accident, with some passengers climbing out of the overturned carriages. The Beijing contingent of Chinese People's Armed Police has been brought in to help with flood relief and reconstruction work in several districts after at least 10 people died in Hebei province in northern China. A total of 4,600 police officers from the PAP participated in the emergency flood relief and rescue work in the Mentogu and Fangshan regions. Officials evacuated more than half of its 11.5 million people from areas thought to be at high risk of landslides and floods. Storm Doksuri, which hit mainland China last week, has brought the worst rains in 140 years. Hebei province, neighbouring Beijing, is said to be one of the worst affected areas. Meanwhile, the moment a house fell into the Mendenhall River in Alaska's capital has been caught on camera. Eyewitness drone footage captured the dramatic moment following glacial floods. The subsidence prompted city officials to issue evacuation orders for residents on one street. Thousands of scouts at an international event in South Korea are being evacuated from a campsite due to an incoming tropical storm. Several countries, including the UK, had already left, blaming high temperatures and poor sanitary conditions at the camp. UK Scouts Chief Executive Matt Hyde said he felt let down by organisers and UK activities had been set back years. Attended by more than 40,000 young people, the World Scout Jamboree has been plagued by problems from the start.
So I would just encourage that there is a proper independent learning review so we all capture lessons, whether that applies to future jamborees or any other events that anyone, frankly, is organising, because we cannot be put in this situation again. It's not fair on anyone.
Russia will evacuate a village in its far east when it launches its first lunar landing spacecraft in 47 years to search for ice near the south pole of the moon. A local official said residents of the village of Shakhtinsky will be moved out on Friday because of a 1 in a million chance that one of the rocket boosters that launches the Luna 25 lander could fall to Earth there. The launch from the Vostochny Cosmodrome, 3,450 miles east of Moscow, will take place 4 weeks after India sent up its Chandrayaan-3 lunar lander, also heading for the south pole of the moon. And the blockbuster film Barbie has topped $1 billion in box office ticket sales worldwide since its debut.
Hey, Barbie. Can I come to your house tonight?
Sure. I don't
don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song, you should stop by.
So cool.
In a statement, Warner Brothers said the fantasy comedy movie had taken in $459 million from domestic theaters counting the United States and Canada, and another $572 million overseas for a total of $1.03 billion. Oscar-nominated Barbie writer and director Greta Gerwig also became the first female filmmaker to surpass the billion-dollar benchmark as a solo director. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Now time for sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks and welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's impressive run at the Women's World Cup may have come to an end, but coach Randy Waldron believes their performances has made the football world sit up and take notice. The Nigerians bowed out when they went down 4-2 on penalties to football heavyweights England when their last 16 encounter finished goalless at the end of extra time.
They've been fantastic the whole tournament. You know, I said to them after the game, we've not lost a game. Realistically, if you look at it, we've played 4 matches against 3 teams, you know, the Olympic gold medalists, and we played the European champions. We had a clean sheet in both of those games. You beat the host nation and you play Ireland that's in the top 20, and realistically, we didn't lose. And I hope people have seen that there is talent there and we have the ability, and with a little structure and a little organization and some commitments to provide some resources that we need, I think hopefully people now can see that we can become a major player on the world stage.
Co-host Australia welcomed captain Sam Kerr to the fray for the first time in the tournament as they beat Denmark 2-0 to reach the quarter-final stage of the FIFA Women's World Cup at the Brisbane Stadium, at the Stadium Australia rather, early today. Forwards Caitlin Ford and Hayley Raso scored the goals either side of half-time before Kerr, who has been absent with a calf injury, came on as a 78th-minute substitute to the biggest roar of the night from the over 75,000 crowd. Morocco is the last African team standing at the FIFA Women's World Cup, and they will face France in their round of 16 clash at the Hindmarsh Stadium in Australia. The game comes up at 12 p.m. Nigerian time. The winner in that game will face Australia. Before the clash, debutants Jamaica will play Colombia in another round of 16 time. Excitement is building in Saudi Arabia ahead of the start of the new football season, which will see a host of big players make their debuts in the Saudi Pro League. The European exodus began last year when Al Nassr completed the marquee signing of Cristiano Ronaldo soon after the World Cup in Qatar, making the Portugal forward the highest-paid athlete in the world. The chief of league operations of Saudi Pro League, Carlo Nora, say they are pushing to be one of the top 10 leagues on the planet.
The excitement is definitely palpable in this football-mad country, right, where football is in the DNA. We've just had our biggest season yet in terms of attendance and broadcast coverage. We're just as excited as the fans are. For us, really, this is a moment when the strategy actually comes together and comes to life, and we start delivering for the Saudi people the quality entertainment that they deserve. From the sport.
Sports News, I'm Ayotunde Balogun. It's back to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Ayotunde. And the main news again. The Senate today went into a rowdy session as it concluded the screening of ministerial nominees. The upper chamber confirmed the nomination of 45 out of 48, said the confirmation of Nasser El-Rufai, Stella Okotete and Abubakar Danladi was put on hold because they are still undergoing security clearance. Former Minister of State for Labour, Mr. Festus Kiamo, has tendered his unreserved apology to the Senate over his refusal to honour the invitation of the 9th Senate, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I'm sorry, we have to go on the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Stay safe. Have a good night.